Yeah. And you said 12 minutes for the winners, 10 for the losers? In the media work area, we will have the University of Michigan here in about 5 minutes. Getting in the shot? Okay. Jesse, is that good? Good? Okay. For those of you in the media work area, game 2 will begin at 3:05. I want to remind everyone in the interview area, no flash photography. Please silence your cell phones No recording via any device. And if you need satellite coordinates or the FTP site, check with Hammond's Communications in the back. I mean, hey, Will, I could start my clock on this. Huh? Yeah. Hey, George. I'm not going to talk in front of a live mic, so. Okay. Michigan is on its way. Hi, Paul. How you doing, buddy? Good seeing you. How you been? And just so you know, we'll have 12 minutes with Michigan and then 10 minutes with Oklahoma State per NCAA guidelines. Michigan is on its way in. Again, no flash photography. Please silence your cell phones. No recording allowed via any mobile device. And after Coach Beeline's opening statement, we'll take questions for anybody during the remaining time. We won't dismiss the players.
Yeah.
We'll have you make an opening statement and we'll take questions for you.
Yep.
All right, we'll begin right now, and the opening statement from Coach Beeline, and then we'll go to anybody for questions.
Yeah, in the time, seeing play Sunday, it gave us some good prep time. That prep time did not make me feel any better knowing the weapons that we were going to be facing. If somebody would have ever said that we're going to give up 91 and we were going to win, I wouldn't have thought that was going to happen. But we had enough firepower to withstand their incredible offensive talent and get enough points. And just to really compliment Oklahoma State. They had a great year. I haven't known Brad Underwood at all. Got huge respect right now for who he is and in that program. And all Cowboy fans everywhere should be feel lucky what the direction that program's going. So really happy for our guys. We had to make just enough shots. I thought early in the game we settled way too much. This is like 7 games in a row. Everybody's switching every ball screen, and we're used to it, but we settled a little bit. Their pressure bothered us a little early. Once we settled in, we were fine. So really proud of these kids and look forward to playing the winner of this game right now.
Raise your hands. We'll get a mic to you right here, back in the back. Pat.
Pat Forty from Yahoo Sports. For Duncan and for Zach, what's it like playing with a point guard who is operating on Derek's level right now?
Duncan.
It's a lot of fun, first and foremost, to know that you have that rock that you can always count on. But he's been so good, and, we go as he goes. So, hopefully you got a little bit more left in the tank, D.
Zach.
He's a heck of a point guard. He makes things easier for all of us because he attracts so much attention to himself, which frees up everyone else. He's been on a tear, and I know he's going to continue to do it.
Right here.
Neil Best from Newsday for Derek. 2 things for Derek. You got off to a little bit of a slow start and then obviously got it going. What changed for you? And also, after you hit a 3 from the top of the arc to put you guys up 6, you seem to be turning toward the crowd and saying something. What was that?
Questions for Derek.
Just playing with a lot of emotion. That's all it really was. To start, Coach B said it, perfectly. They pressured us and took us out of a lot of sets. We haven't played a team that, got up into us in a minute. It's hard to emulate that in practice, and especially with those guys with that type of athleticism, that length, it's hard to emulate it. But like I said, once we settled down in the second half I settled down. I just want to, make the right play consistently.
Right here.
John Macker, Detroit Sports Podcast Network. Coach, this question's for you.
I think this is supposed to be the students right now.
No,
Oh.
no, we're doing everybody, Coach. So
Yep,
go ahead.
Oklahoma State seemed to be able to press you guys and cause some issues, allowing maybe the ball to go out to the 3 in the first half. What were they able to do with the press, causing your offensive struggles?
They were trying to slow us down and then make us change in the middle. And but at the same time, we had 19 assists and 4 turnovers. So it took us just a little bit out of our rhythm. And then the shot clock's going down, and at that point, I just thought there's 5 or 6 times everybody in the country was saying they got to stop settling, including me and including them. But we did it. And we learned from it, and it didn't happen in the second half. So we just, shooting the ball from 3 is part of our package. And we can do that, but we can also drive it in there, too, and throw it in. But today, we were really good at hitting the open man. Derek's 11 assists, but overall, 19 assists. That's a big number. With only 4 turnovers especially. We valued every possession.
Right here, Steve.
John, if you could talk about what your team gains from going through a last minute like that, when you have to hit the free throws, all that pressure, and you have to face pressure defenses and stop everything that was involved in that last minute.
Well, I think that's the world we've lived in. You go back to that tremendous game against Northwestern just 2 weeks ago, second game, right? Nebraska's the only one that doesn't get there. Nebraska, maybe Illinois, we got a good enough lead, but all the other games, it's been 2 or 3 minutes to go. Anybody can win. So for us to execute our press offense to get it in bounds, it is very difficult. When they still have 4 fouls to go, and you got to inbound it 4 times from a similar spot. You only have so many inbounds plays, and that was close, and we got it done. We weren't great with our energy at that, and these guys heard about that. But those are all the things that I think hopefully will come to help us in the road ahead.
Right here.
My question's for Zach. You tied a personal best 16 points for a tournament game. These games already mean so much given it's one and done. But given that you're playing here at home, does it mean anything to you? Does it add anything to a game like this?
Question for Zach.
No, it does. It's always nice being able to come back home, playing in front of your family and friends. But most importantly, I'm just worried about us winning, and we were able to do that this afternoon. We just got to continue to play well.
Questions, please, right here.
Derek, when you go through, I think, a 1-for-6 first half the way you do, and then you come out and hit your first 5 threes in the second half, what is it about your mindset that allows you to completely forget about the last shot and just keep firing away?
Question for Derek.
Just my mindset is just, I just tap into the fact that I know I've worked really hard and just trust my mechanics for the most part. And halftime I talked to one of my good friends on the team, Doc, and he just told me what I was. I changed my shot a couple times in the early, couple shots that I took, but it's just the mindset and the trust that these guys have in me. It's, it makes me go out and just play much more free, just knowing they have a lot of confidence in me.
Right here.
Barry Trammell with the Oklahoman. For Zach and Coach Beeline both, in a game like this, it seems like there's pressure on every possession to score. Most basketball games, it's no big deal, but if you don't score today, the other team's on a run because they're scoring. How much does that change your offense, or is it fun to get in a game like that and you feel like everybody's making it, so we can keep making it?
We'll start with Zach.
I think Coach touched on this earlier. I think it took us a little bit to settle down and be able to get into a flow and a rhythm. I think we settled too much on offense, but I think once we relaxed and were able to play our game, I think it helped us out.
John?
Yeah, I think, I continue to say the 30-second clock, that 5 seconds made a huge difference in who we are. And so we find ourselves simplifying things a lot more. They were taking away some things, so running quick hitters or just playing off ball screen reads. So I think that's the way the game has gone. I may be, over that time, I have evolved a lot as a coach, seeing 42 years of a lot of change. And we continue to embrace that, to be able to play downhill, but do it with shooters as well. But that's a big part of our game, playing one-on-one and guarding one-on-one is got to continue to improve for us, but we got to keep working at it.
Questions, please. Right here.
For Derek, what's it like dealing with Evans? Have you gone against many point guards that quick?
Derek?
I think he emulated a lot of quickness that we play against every night in the Big Ten. I think, he emulates a lot of guys in the conference that I play against. They just quick downhill guys. And, the difference between, the Big Ten opponents and their opponents is, he has the ball so much. So he puts a lot of pressure on the defense. I think he's a really good player. But no, like I said, I think he emulates a lot of quickness that, is in the Big Ten as well.
Right over here.
My question's for Coach regarding Zach. It's been well reported that he's, a leader on this team. How does that transition happen at this level, at this collegiate level? How does a player go from a freshman in a new circumstance to 4 years later being a moral center for this team that can be counted on?
We could write a book on that one, because Zach is this whole time almost unflappable. Periods in his sophomore year, we had a tough sophomore year where he lost his backcourt. The sophomore was supposed to fill in the blanks, and now the sophomore is one of our most experienced players. And we learned so much through that. He learned through so much from that. What has happened, what I've seen him have, he had a year right now where when we weren't playing well, right, he was not confident in what he was doing. But he didn't, it was unflappable through it all. And all of a sudden now, if you check his stats, he's shooting about 50% overall and from three during these last 5 games when it really counted. And I had several questions about this. When do you turn to somebody else? I said, I ain't turning to anybody else. We got a team, but Zach Irvin's in there. He's going to take shots because he makes shots, and we got a lot of confidence in him. And I wouldn't do that if he hadn't shown extreme selfless leadership during the entire 4 years here.
Right here.
John, you really got control with about 4 minutes left when Oklahoma State went 3 or 4 possessions without scoring. I think they scored twice in 6 possessions. Forte missed a couple. Evans missed a drive.
Yeah.
Do you remember that stretch? And were you doing anything different, or just played good defense? Did they miss?
I think, when we did force them to miss, if you look at those numbers, they got offensive rebounds. and that was a big thing when they could get it. And it's very difficult when you got a downhill driver like that. He can throw anything off the board. The natural rotation is to, go to level the ball, and guys got a running start to come in. I think that was a huge difference in the game, was their ability to, those 13 rebounds. I bet you they were good. I can't see where it was, but I'm sure 20 points easily just going downhill. So it wasn't any magic. Right now sometimes the ball just bounces your way off those rebounds, right? Maybe sometimes we do box out a little bit, but overall we limited their possessions that we had earlier in the game, earlier in the half.
We have time for a couple more. Anyone? We're good? Okay, thanks, Coach. Thank you. Michigan will be here tomorrow at 1:35 to begin the press conferences. For those of you in the media work area, Oklahoma State is on its way to the interview room. All right, Oklahoma State has arrived in the interview area. And again, we will take an opening statement from Coach Underwood, and then we will open it up for 10 minutes for anyone. So, Coach.
Well, a tremendous amount of credit to Michigan. They're a very, very good basketball team who played extremely well today. You run into so many problems with trying to defend Michigan, and John does a great job of spacing the floor, and they have so many shooters. And it gets hard to take everything away from them. And I thought the first half we were very good at defending the three-point line, trying to keep them in front of us. We did a great job on Walton the first half. He only has 7. But again, the second half was you go 11 of 15 from the 3. That's hard to do in a gym by yourself. And they hit some hard shots. Give them credit. I'm very, very proud of these young men up here. This group has been through a lot this year. And when you talk about the death of a teammate, when you talk about a trip to Maui and going 10-2 in the non-league and starting 0-6, and then a great run to turn it around, I think it speaks volumes of the character of our locker room. I couldn't be prouder of a group of guys. It's never great to have a season end. Thought we could have made some noise in this thing. Today we just weren't good enough, and give a lot of credit to Michigan.
Okay, we'll take questions for Coach or the players. Raise your hand. We'll get a microphone to you right here.
Barry Trammell with the Oklahoma. Juwan and Phil, it seemed like the game sort of got out of your control. About 4 or 5 minutes left. everybody scoring every possession, then you guys had 3 or 4 possessions where you didn't score. Do you remember that stretch, and what do you think went wrong during those possessions?
Jawan?
I just felt like, we kind of got confused at times, but also we were just trying to figure out who we wanted to score the ball. So I feel like that's what happened.
Phil?
We just, had a few lapses on defense, and we play a good team like Michigan. You can't do that. And then when you get into a scoring match and you don't score, then obviously they're going to make a little run.
Questions, please? Right here in the back.
Sam Mays with the franchise in Oklahoma City. Coach, how difficult is it to keep your team motivated when the other team is just draining threes that are somewhat ridiculous at times?
It's what we do. We do the same thing. We see it every day in practice. And we weren't the #1 offensive team in the country from an efficiency standpoint. It's one of those deals. I mean, we shot 55% in the NCAA tournament and just lost in the first round. The game is evolving into that. This goes against basically every stereotype you know, and it's one I've got to grasp. Out-rebound an opponent 40-21 and lose. And the game's changing. The three-point line is changing that way, and we saw teams in our league that did the same thing. I think it's a tribute to what we try to do. We're everyday guys who try to play every play, and no matter what the consequences, and we could have very easily folded, but as long as there's officials on the court, time on the clock, and they're keeping score, we're going to keep fighting. And this team I'm proud of. We're resilient, and again, these 2 seniors and deserve a lot of the credit for that.
Right here.
Yeah, for Layton, both teams got off to a sort of a slow start. It wasn't a wild game early. What triggered to get both teams' offenses really going?
Question for Layton.
I just felt like defensively, when you get stops, get a couple stops in a row, it kind of gets your offense going. I mean, especially with us. I mean, we're really well in the first 7 seconds of the shot clock. So I mean, once we get a stop and a defensive rebound, and let Jawan do his thing. I mean, that's kind of been our motto of the year. So I mean, I just feel like we got a couple stops in a row, get 3 stops in a row, then I mean, you kind of start feeling on offense because once you see the ball go in, I mean, you start getting your rhythm.
Questions, please? Right here.
Brad, you went to a zone for a few plays and you didn't stay with it. You did a lot of switch. It looked like you switched every screen most of the game. Was that what you were going to do no matter what? Did you feel like that worked well, or how did you feel about that defensive?
Yeah.
Question for Coach.
In the Big Ten tournament, Derek Walton took 51 shots that were not breakaway steal layups. 45 of them were jump shots. And so switching was going to, they were the 3rd percentile in the country in post-ups. So we weren't overly concerned with that. It was a matter of trying to keep them to shoot, stop them from shooting and in the paint and step in threes. We wanted to force them to dribble if they wanted to go at Mitch. So be it, and or Layton, and then to their credit, they made some shots. And if you get into a rotation game with them in terms of hedging ball screens or doing that, you're going to lose because they pass it so well, they play so well together, and I felt pretty good about it. And we'd worked on it a great deal, and for the most part, the only thing that hurt us in the first half was Wilson had 6 offensive rebounds or 3 offensive rebounds. But like I said, there's a little give and take when you play Michigan.
Questions, please? Sure.
Juwan, Jeff had a really strong game in terms of percentage. I think he was 6 of 8 shooting, but he didn't get a lot of shots. Was Michigan doing anything to take him away from getting shots, or why so few shots for Jeffrey?
Was that for Jawan?
For Jawan.
Okay, thank you.
I feel like they played Jeff kind of good in a way, but also just when that kind of night for him, I guess. I can't tell you Can't tell you why he ain't having as many shots as he should, but it was just one of them nights.
Questions? Yep.
Phil, it looked like they were committed to not letting you shoot, but you started putting the ball on the floor, found a couple of threes off the dribble, but also in the paint you took some shots. Was it a decision that, hey, you just have to find some shots out of your normal comfort zone?
Question for Phil.
Just trying to make a couple plays, just kind of taking what the defense gave me and just seeing how tight they were playing me and kind of trying to use it to my advantage to attack them.
Any more questions for coach of the athletes? Sure.
Was, for Brad, was this kind of game the way it became, where you just almost had to score every possession? I mean, it looked like a Big 12 football game out there where if you punt, you might lose. If you miss today, you might lose because everybody's scoring so much.
It's pretty much what I expected. You had, I think they're 8th in the country in offensive efficiency, or 9th, and are somewhere right in there, and we're 1st. I like when we play with tempo. It suits this team. You know, Phil doesn't get a ton of looks because everybody fears him and spaces, and that creates opportunities for you know, for those other guys. Leighton played within you know, with a couple fouls early, yeah, you know, we score a lot of ways, and tempo was good for us. And you know, you sit there and you look, and you know, I talked about the rebounding difference, and you talk about 50 points in the paint and you lose. The game's changing, and to their credit, when you make threes, you're got a great chance to win.
We've got time for one more. Anyone? Okay, thank you, Oklahoma State.
Thank you.
Thanks, Phil.